Hi everybody, welcome back to another lesson in my level 3 beginner piano course. In this video we're going to learn Mozart's Allegro in F, K.1c. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Also, I offer online piano lessons. If you're looking for one, there's going to be information below. This chapter in level 3 is all about 16th notes, semiquavers, and the dotted 8th note or dotted quaver. Really solidifying that rhythm, I added quite a lot of pieces just to work on these rhythms, as they can be so difficult to internalize, and sometimes they can sound very different to what they should sound like. This piece is again just one to reinforce that concept and to really mix those note values, the 16th notes, the 8th notes, and the dotted 8th notes. And this Allegro by Mozart looks very simple, but actually it's quite difficult, not only due to the note values, but also due to the articulation and the frequent finger number changes. We have a lot of staccatos, a lot of legatos and drop slurs, so we need to lift quite often to get that light, playful feel of the piece. The first line is repeated twice, and then the second and third lines are repeated twice again. We are in the key of F major, so B flat, every B is going to be flat. And it says Allegro for the tempo, so fast. It doesn't need to go quite so fast. The speed I showed in the introduction is a very good speed. You don't need to go any faster than that, especially for beginners or early intermediate. There's no need to go really fast, and the piece actually sounds nicer when it's a little bit slower. We can hear more the melody. So let's have a look at the first line. The right hand has this very interesting rhythm where we start on an upbeat and it's a drop slur bouncing up on a staccato. I'm just going to play the notes first without any articulation, starting C number 1, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2. So that's the first line. Now let's dissect this a little bit. So we have first T, 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 tim, re, T, T, re, T, T, re, T, T, T. So we have T's, we have tim, re, the dotted, and we have 8th note followed by 2/16, so T, T, re, T, T, re. So all of these have to fit into one beat. T, 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 tim, re, T, T, re, T, T, re, T. Saying the rhythm out loud or clapping it, tapping it before playing the notes is really going to help. Once you start reading the notes and the finger numbers, obviously it's going to add to the level of complexity. So let's now have a look at those finger numbers. 1, 3, change to 1. 1, 2, change to 1. 1. Now 4, 2, 1. 4, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now again, finger numbers are not written in stone. You are free to change it, but make sure to change it to something that sounds elegant and allows you to play it flawlessly. So let's see the articulation. We start with a drop slur, so drop, bounce, drop, bounce. Now connect, lift, T, re, lift, T, re, lift, bounce, hold. That's the articulation. And on this A, we have a tenuto mark, which means a slight pressure. Bounce, bounce. Left hand is going to join in on the second half of the first beat, so 3 on the F. 1 and 2, and 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2. So very similar articulation to the right hand. Drop, bounce, drop, hold, lift, drop, bounce, drop, bounce, bounce, hold, connect, connect. Hands together. And 1. Tenuto. So make sure that tenuto gets emphasized. So you repeat this twice, then you go on to the second section, which is 2 lines long. So let's start with the right hand. It's an upbeat again, so number 4 on the high C. Ti, re, ti, ti, re, ti, ti, re, tim, re, ti, ti, re, ti, ti, re, ti, ti, re, tim, re, ti. And now it comes back. You won't see any finger numbers here for the return of the theme. It's identical to the first line, so use the same finger numbers. So once again, we have bounce, bounce. So lift up between these very short slurs and make it very playful and light. Tenuto, repeat, and lift up, and so on. Left hand very simple, starting 1 on the F this time, and drop, bounce, drop, bounce. So, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 1, and 2, and tenuto. And now we have a staccato on the F and change to 3. Hands together, F and high C. And that's the end. Now, adding lots of dynamics is going to make it even more interesting, especially when the right hand is rising in this main theme. You can do a crescendo and diminuendo as you approach, and the middle section could be lighter, gentler, like almost very whispering. And then a bit crescendo. None of these dynamics are in the original score, but as we know, the earlier the music, the more creative we can get with it to make it more expressive. So a really good piece, not just for the articulation, but also for the note values learned in this chapter. Lots of very slow practice, really making sure you understand the rhythm and you understand the pulse. Using a metronome is going to help with the pulse. And once you can do it slowly with perfect articulation and rhythm, start going a little bit faster, but not too fast. There's no need to rush this piece.